Will you get the whole taxonomy in a separate file? Yeah, I'm going to get the PDF. It's going to be broken down each section within the PDF. So you'll be able to see more in detail. It will, Joe, will what be an audiobook? The PDF? It will not. Cool. All right, let's get into psychological principles. As you can see, each one of these breaks out as well. Oh, the new book. Yes, eventually. Yes, it will. Thank you for asking. Maybe I'll have Jonam do it in his buttery smooth English accent. Okay, psychological principles. Let's look at kind of, again, this is a system of classification. So you can kind of see how all these fit in your mind and how to get better at the craft of behavior change for yourself and for others, right? So let's look at the principles. So, and again, this isn't meant to be an exhaustive list. It's what I could pull together from my PSYOP training and from everything else I've just trying to pull it together for you. So there's more pieces to this for sure. But I think this will get us started and we'll know where things fit, how to classify things. So psychological principles. So behavior change is a process. Instead of looking at behavior change like an event, like it's a one and done type thing, sometimes if you're in door-to-door sales, you better be good at those transactional moments, right? You got to get good. If you're a practitioner and work with people in a clinical setting, or hypnotherapist or hypnotist, if you work like that, you need to know some tricks for that type of influence. It's more persuasion, but usually, and in 98% of the situations that we live in, it's a process. Behavior change is a process. And I talk about Operation Christmas. I don't know how much time we have to get into it here, but I've got some videos on YouTube. It was trying to demobilize the longest standing guerrilla force, the FARC, in the jungles of Colombia. And they used this process of incremental pivoting and changing the messaging and the offer based on interaction with the target audience. Operation Christmas is a great example of the process of behavior change. Mental change precedes behavior change. It always starts in the mind first. Subtlety, how much effort are you using? And then attribution, are you using, is it known, unknown, or mixed? Like, do they, and so we call it white, gray, and black PSYOP. And so overt, covert, and clandestine. You can use attribution in this context to increase or decrease resistance or friction. And so if you're working with somebody in a clinical setting, for example, and you need them to maybe, here's your plan to take home, or you're a fitness trainer. Hey, here's your homework so you can go get in shape like you want to. These are ways, sometimes you want to say things and do things in a way that minimize resistance and friction, so that obviously in a case it's not based on war, we want the best for the person we're influencing. We want to do what's in their best interest, right? So that's the rule here with all of these. Do what's in the best interest of the person you're influencing. But use attribution to minimize or increase resistance. Maybe you want more resistance. Maybe you're building a funnel or messaging for your business or writing a book, and you want to maybe say things in a way that repels the wrong type of person, maybe the wrong type of person that you don't want to necessarily work with. And so you'd increase friction at that point. And on the other hand, you would decrease friction based on, hey, I need this person to do this. They're probably going to get react some kind of way, and I want to help them comply with this in a way that's going to help them be better, right? And so you use attribution for that purpose. Target versus audience. This is the influence continuum. So in PSYOP, we learned about the continuum of target, friendly, and in the middle is neutral. And understanding where the different rings of influence are in your business, whether it be warm and hot traffic that are friendly, already know you, or those that are familiar with you, or the cold traffic, and kind of know how to message based on where they're at there on the influence continuum. And then action as the foundation of influence. So planned actions and events within the area of operation. Always have a plan. And I teach the Prometheus strategy as the way to build plans with clients. And so, but always look at kind of begin with the end in mind and reverse engineer what you want to accomplish. I have here the A-10 and the Apache. When we were in Afghanistan, so one thing we would do to make sure that we didn't have bad guys out there chasing us down is we'd say, hey, we'd call up air support and say, hey, why don't you do a little low flyby, do a little show of force. We'd have our radio guy call in and have our air support, if we had it at the time, just do a low flyby over our caravan. And we always felt safe when they did that. It would either be an Apache circling above or an A-10 would fly down close and do a little wing shake for us. And that always scared away the bad guys and made sure that we traveled safe. And so that's an action to create an area of safety. So we'll just start with those psychological principles. Any questions on those or comments? If not, we'll keep moving. Okay, let's talk about the principles of influence. Change requires a catalyst. When in the mission Operation Christmas, the catalyst was a value and a vulnerability. So let me explain that. When they were interviewing guerrillas that had demobilized, they were asking them why they left. And they said, well, we felt trapped. We felt as trapped as the people we were holding hostage. And so that was the FARC was it. There were more demobilizations during Christmas time. We'll go back to economy of effort. Was that? Oh, economy of effort. That's just how much influence or how much effort you put into like, for example, the more friction or less friction. Are you doing things in a way that makes it harder or easier for you to influence people? Are you doing things that take away from your authority when you show up into a situation? Do you not make your bed? We're not perfect, but do you do things that take away from your ability to influence easily and fluidly? Does that make sense? So economy of effort would be that. Yep. So change requires a catalyst. The catalyst with Operation Christmas was Christmas. It was at Christmas time, the lower echelon guerrilla fighters really wanted to go home because they valued home time, they valued family, and they valued not feeling trapped. And so the catalyst was Christmas. It like that event created an opening where the guerrilla fighters were more vulnerable and where they would demobilize more easier. And so change requires a catalyst, maybe an event, maybe it's an environmental a change in the environment, maybe it's a word used, maybe it's a sentence, maybe it's the way you dress. With the authority study, the doctors always wore white lab coats, and that lab coat a lot of the time set the stage for authority, and so that was a catalyst that created influence. And so change requires a catalyst. Hope that makes sense. Influence does not equate to marketing. So marketing, like PR, public relations, marketing delivers information and tells people where to go buy the thing, right? It brings awareness, top of mind awareness to a specific niche or target audience. Whereas influence is a process, a psychological process that creates loyalty, creates a bond between two or more people. So it's not the same thing. Influence is inherently sensitive. It really is a sensitive process. We talked about attribution before and how that the difference between attribution creates more resistance or minimizes resistance. And that's the difference between clandestine, covert, ambiguous, or overt messaging. And like, do we know either they don't know what's going on, or they know something's going on, but they don't know who is doing it, or they're completely aware something's going on and who's doing it. So that would be the difference between those different levels of attribution. And then it's conducted with and or through indigenous forces. In this case, in your case, are you visiting and working by, with, and through other groups, other people, other leaders, other trainers, instructors, other authors? Are you working by, with, and through others to help expand your reach and your audience? And is this high risk, low risk, or low visibility? This attribution technique. Influence, again, is inherently sensitive. In the military, we have to have authority to do it. If you were to go in a Facebook group and start just promoting your thing without permission, it wouldn't be a good thing. So you want to get permission. And then special ops and influence. We use influence to be able to work by, with, and through target populations. Truth versus credibility myth. The messaging. So this is a lot of people. Let me dispel this myth. So within psychological operations, a big belief is it needs to be true to be credible. But there are, like, if you think of World War II, there was a lot of propaganda and different things during those times. And so there is such a thing as military deception. Now, I don't suggest you ever go out and be deceptive. But just know that is out there and be aware of it. So when you see it, you know it. Must be factually accurate to be accepted. Not all the time. Truth is absolute across cultures. Not at all. And PSYOP is just marketing and PR for the military. Definitely not. It's a process. It's narrative warfare. It's psychological warfare. It's a lot of different things, but it's not just marketing. Okay. A lot there to unpack, but we got to move through it. Influence requires a range of efforts and activities. It requires emphasis to be put on certain things. Hey, look right here, right? And then messaging in isolation is seldom effective. Ideas for your business that just come out of your head and aren't tested with your market are seldom effective. And so you got to get it out there, and your ideas need to engage with your audience. That's part of the reason I'm doing this. I really wanted to bring value to you from my experience of 12 plus years in the military, but I want to know what was most useful for you. I don't want to just fill your head full of information, but I do want to give you new goggles on how to see this. Okay. So get with your audience and engage with them and deliver value to them, and they'll tell you what they need and how they need you to communicate it to them. So combine it with conditions, actions, and events, and combine with planned actions that elicit psychological effects like behavior change. So that'd be influence principles. Any questions, comments, or concerns on that as we move on through? I know I'm going fast, hopefully not too fast for you guys. But you can see what we have to go through here. The process is a big one. So let's keep moving. Pathways. So let's look at influence, pathways to influence. So we can use platforms or processes to create influence. Target audience analysis versus a platform versus a tool. So a platform would be like a social media platform. A tool would be maybe your email autoresponder. Or a target audience analysis would actually be your analysis and study and understanding of your market and your niche. And then strategy as a skill versus a tactic. So we have in the Prometheus strategy, Prometheus strategy, the process we work through with clients, there's the cardinal rules. One of them is think like an architect, not a bricklayer. That's one of the core principles, right? And so the big thing is learn skill sets. And when somebody teaches a strategy but doesn't teach you how to think about when to use it, that strategy just becomes a tactic or a technique. Because you don't know when to use it, when not to use it. It's just something you learned. And so if you understand how to think strategically, then you know how to use the tactics, when and where to use them. Make sense? So, and then you understand the context. Context is everything. Critical and creative thinking models. Use critical thinking models. Ask the right questions. Does this make sense? Is this and use your critical thinking cap when you see messaging and when you're thinking through your own messaging. And then systems as a concept versus a skill. Use systems thinking. See it as the whole. See how things fit together. And if I do this, how will it affect 2 steps down or all these different. Think of it as the whole thing is connected, right? And then narrative analysis. This is what we teach. We teach a little bit of this in the Narrative Discovery Challenge in our group, the Annex. But it's the narrative analysis. 3 narratives, 3 core narratives would be the personal narrative, the market narrative and the convergent narrative, where your stories and experiences match with your markets in an offer, right? Or in a sales conversation. And that's so with the personal, you have, again, the DIME method, my DIME method that we came up with, and that's desire, identity, myth, evolution. Find out what you want and what they want. Find out who they see themselves as, so you can speak to that. Create a myth or a sequence of stories that show cause and effect, and then make sure that you can understand the whole evolution of your story with their story and how they interrelate. And then the market narrative. A market is just, it's a group full of shared conflict. I heard that once. Thought that was powerful. Your market is just a bucket of shared conflict. A bunch of people, it does, like, the demographics don't matter. It could be young, old, any culture, whatever. But if they all share a conflict and a problem, that's what you need to speak to, that shared conflict. And then it's always outcome based. You don't want to talk about price or these other value. That value and price are not productive conversations, but outcome. If you help make people's lives better, if you're a coach, you're a consultant, you work with, you write books or whatever, you're trying to create a new experience for your market or an outcome, not just a thing. And so always understand not just the feature, but the benefit of it. And then ways and means, like understand that by trying to think of what I meant when I put the ways and means with the market. It's just ways of communicating with them, and then the different platforms or processes you use to be able to communicate with them. And then again, the convergent narrative would be how you design your narrative, how you talk about how you sell your offer, whether it's an enrollment. It's usually that's the best way to think about it, as an enrollment conversation. I enroll this person into the idea and get buy-in that they want this thing for real. They're serious about it. And then authority maximizers use content as a way to maximize your own authority. So it'd be the narrative analysis. And then let's talk about campaign practices. Pathways to influence. We use campaigns to create influence. So we always use built-in scarcity, psychological triggers, authority triggers, priming and timing, stories, beliefs, lessons, loops, and calls to action. What we have to choose wisely, our tech stack and tools, use gamification to create that desire to engage. And then live coaching and the community aspect, have that be part of your plan, as well as parallel pathways through email, text, video, social media, and through an app. People are on their phones nowadays. And then always be able to send notifications and get, as my friend Chase Hughes says, FIC, focus, interest, and what is the C? I forget. Somebody in here can help me with the C. Connection, maybe. But plan, that would be your plan. And then the do, you want to make sure you have the scheduling lined up, the operations managed, and you are able to create and capture value through everything that you create. And then, so again, campaign practices, we're using a plan, do, a check, and adjust method to be able to make our campaigns better and better as we go. And then we check, we get kind of the feedback on how our campaign's doing through our CRM or email statistics, through our community engagement statistics, through our cohort value. Per participant, we're speaking with people live, getting understanding of how valuable the campaign was, the understanding maybe based on how many people are on your list, and then how many sales at the end of the day, and be able to put, every person on my list is worth like $20 or whatever. And that way you can go and just build a bigger list. If you know your systems are working, your offer's validated, and you make your adjustments. You adjust the content or the teaching or training, you adjust the offer, the pricing, the sequencing, whatever it is. This is the pathway to making your campaigns more effective. That was a big one. Pathways to win.